We have a new pope. A lot of Catholics, a lot of people all over the world, very excited about this. A lot of opinions flying on this one. And there's some other important stories to dive into with Tara Palmeri, who is a journalist, host of the Tara Palmeri Show, which is already getting a lot of attention all over the place. A long time journalist. What you've been with the New York Post? Were you with Axios for a while or something? You've been all over the place.
No.
What was your
Well, that's the only
Politico?
place I probably haven't worked out is Axios. Yeah, I worked at Politico.
That's right, Politico.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
I've worked at a lot of places.
Axios is
Foreign
poor man's
correspondent.
Politico, really, right? I'm just kidding. They'll love
Oh
that
my
over
God, they
there.
would sob over that. They would be sobbing if they heard that.
I hope so. I hope so. So you and I both went to Catholic school, so we got that
Yeah,
going for us in this Pope discussion. A
we've
lot of
survived.
yeah. No, look, I am. Well, I'm somebody who actually is like, I just had a son, as you know, recently, and I'm already thinking
Mm,
about like ways to do kind of hybrid homeschooling and like tutors and athletic programs outside of the
mhm.
standard system and stuff. Because I don't know, I'm not a big traditional schooling guy, especially at a very young
Right.
age. It's not really my thing. Put that aside. Yeah, we both did Catholic school. I did it for, oh my gosh, 14 years. And now we got a Catholic Pope. People are looking into his Twitter feed. This is the first American Pope, and I feel like the first Pope that we've ever been able to go through tweets beforehand to see what he really thinks. And what are we seeing about this guy, Leo the 14th?
Okay, I haven't actually done like a Twitter doom scroll yet of this poor Pope from Chicago, but I think, he's from the Augustinian, I guess,
Order, yes,
order. So we
yes.
care about that stuff as Catholics. As someone who was Jesuit, Catholic school, and then but went to a Franciscan church outside of there, they all have different vibes. And I think the Augustinians are really about like poverty, is what I gathered from
Yes.
that. But he also seems to be he was seen as like the bridge between Pope Francis, who was like seen as too, progressive for some, and then, more conservative popes that were pushed forward by like the, Trump administration and others and his allies. And so he's kind of seen as the middle of the road. He did support the idea of making three women voting members within the church, which is sort of interesting. So he must be sort of a little bit more progressive than others. And I think it's just like a really big moment for the United States since we've never had a pope before. He's from Chicago, but there's always the questions about like the imbalance of power. Like, does this mean America has too much power? Because people forget, like, the Catholic Church is one of the richest institutions in the world, one of the most powerful institutions in the world. All of that property they own all over the world, the churches, all of it. And you don't really think about it that way. It's highly political as well. And so to be not only like a global superpower, but also own the probably the most powerful institution in the world as well. I mean, the Pope doesn't necessarily mean you own it, but lead it. Uh, it's a lot, and so I thought it was an interesting choice that they went with the United States. But he seems to be pretty low key. I like that the popes chose a guy who wasn't really a front runner, who wasn't really being pushed. It makes
I
it
was
very
told
much.
on my show because my radio co-host Clay is big into betting on things. He loves to bet on
Mm,
stuff. That I did not know this. It's funny because he kept asking me. I'm like, oh, I don't even know the names of the different prospective popes. This is beforehand. Do you know that it is considered an excommunicable offense to place a financial wager on who the next pope will be? Because that was a fun bit of trivia. I was like, oh, I'm glad I avoided that one.
yeah, so they shouldn't do, what is it, like what's that, poly market? Yeah,
Yes,
no Pope
Polymarket.
market.
Yeah, a
No Pope
Catholic is
market out there.
very bad to put money on Polymarket. It's another thing. It's like people who get really into Catholics who get into astrology. It's like that's considered a portal to like the dark side. You definitely don't want to be getting into astrology as a Catholic. These are things that when you start to look at the actual positions of the church, you go, "Whoa, that's interesting." Might want to avoid
Well,
that
if you
one.
actually look at it, you're probably a bad Catholic for a lot of things that you're not even thinking about. I mean, they consider using any sort of
What
birth
contraceptive?
control.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I knew we were going
contraceptive
there.
birth
Yeah.
control is like, considered a sin. So because they
Well, we
want
are
us to
all
have
we are all
15
sinners and we
children
are all fallen. So the good news is we are not expected to be perfect. But yes, there's a lot of
so we
things
can
where
still
we
bet on the popes.
But not allowed
And then
to.
go to
I don't think. I think betting on the Pope, like that's one that you definitely don't want to be in the confessional on. By the way, which Jesuit
yeah.
school did you go to? I went to Regis.
I went to DePaul Catholic
DePaul
in
Catholic.
Wayne, New Jersey, and then I
Oh,
went before that when I was in grammar school. I don't think they were Franciscan, but the nuns, they were from an Italian order, and they were interesting. They were really hardcore. The whole, women ran the whole roost. It was really kind of intense. Sister
I,
Angelina, sister,
yeah,
like all,
yeah.
it was just very. It was a lot. My parents actually are evangelicals now, though. They gave up the church when they moved down south. They just got into the whole evangelical movement, which
Really?
is, and they got like, my mom got rebaptized, which is like, I was like, but I thought you were already baptized. Like, you made me go to Catholic school and now you're an evangelical. Like, what the hell's going on?
Wow. Well, I did just
Yeah.
assume before we came on. I was like, Tara, you're a Catholic, right? Because
Yeah.
Italian, New Jersey. Like, what are the chances
Yeah.
she's not?
Yeah.
But
Right.
that's interesting. All right, so we got a new pope. There's a lot of stuff about whether he's going to be a social justice guy, and I just say I'm very hopeful for the new pope because I think that a lot of people in this country and around the world, increasingly, and young people, are looking for structure and morality in their lives that is consistent and that has a historical thread, if you will, that runs through it and isn't just sort of changing with the whims of society. I think the Catholic Church can
Really?
provide
You know
that for a
those
lot of
kids?
people.
I know kids that are just thinking about where to get their next beer, but that sounds ambitious.
There are. I know people who have been. I mean, Sarab Amari is one, for example. You probably know Sarab from the New York Post. He's a convert to Catholicism and an ardent one.
I
And
know this is kind of trendy right now. Do they know what they're doing?
well, I think some of them. Wow, she's really. This is. I'm noticing some Catholic cynicism here. Some cynicism about Catholicism. Uh,
Call me before you do this, okay?
no, it's okay. Yeah. No, I think. I mean, I don't know. I have to ask Sarab. I think that his conversion seems from afar to be profound, and I think he wrote a book on it actually, like how much he's converted. I'll tell you, my college advisor, who was Jewish when I was his
Mm,
advisee, he was the only conservative at my college in the political science department, the only one,
mm.
and they wished that they could fire him. He actually converted to Catholicism in his 60s, I believe, which was, so there are people who find,
We don't go out there trying to convert, though. We're not like Mormons. Like, we're not, even evangelical Christians are like,
yeah.
what is it, John 3:16? If you find, if you say this and are baptized, like you have eternal life. Like, we're not really out there being like, become Catholic. I
I,
mean,
I
the
like I like
pews
that
are
you're still
empty.
leaning on the still leaning on the we here, Tara. I don't know. I don't know how
I'm
much
still
we
Catholic.
you can do as a Catholic here. I'm not saying I'm in
Oh,
great shape,
oh,
but
oh, wait.
you know,
Remember, thou shalt not throw stones that live in glass houses. Is that one of them? I'm not really sure, but I did have to read I
not.
certainly did have to read, that's a parable, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, they
No,
didn't
I
have
get it.
glass then.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. This is
But you get the
Catholicism
point.
with Tara. All right. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to talk. I hope this Pope is
Thanks,
not a
Mom and
communist
Dad.
because communism is always anti-Christian, anti-God, and anti-humanity. So I hope that there's a clear well, there's not too much social justice nonsense coming out of him.